Welcome to your ultimate home buyer's guide for 2025. If you're planning to buy a home in the Greater Toronto area, then you just tuned in to the right place. My name is Clement. I'm a real estate broker here in the Greater Toronto area, and I help home buyers navigate this exciting and sometimes overwhelming process of buying a home. And today, I want to be sharing three major things. One is the latest market trend, then the new regulations that you need to know as a first-time home buyer or a seasoned home buyer. Seasoned meaning you're upgrading or you're smart sizing, as we might call it. Then I'll also share with you some practical tips that you can use through this home buying process to make the whole process as smooth as possible for you if you're coming into the market in 2025. So let's get into it. So coming into 2025, we'll see the average price in the Greater Toronto area was starting to stabilize. Some of the new regulations that were coming into the market started to show in certain pockets. Like we can see in Toronto, there's a shift going towards detached and freehold homes as opposed to condos. In the Toronto market, the condo market has obviously been hit drastically hard, and now we're starting to see a slight shift. With so many condos in the market today, this is going to be a major tool in 2025. So we'll see what this is going to do, particularly for you as a first-time home buyer. In other pockets, let's say in Peel, Durham, this type of areas, or in the north side of the GTA, like the North York areas of the GTA. So we're seeing these areas, the pricing is starting to moderate a little bit as well. And it's becoming slightly competitive because now with the new regulations, which I'll actually start talking about as well in the next segment here, these new regulations are influencing a lot of home buyers to come into the market. And typically what we see in January, a lot of times the pricing is usually a little bit lower. But coming into 2025, all this regulations, all this stabilizing of the price seems very controllable, seems very normal. Obviously, with the new tariffs that could be coming in, we don't know for sure if this is going to happen or not. But in the case of it not happening, we can tell you like for sure the pricing is starting to look good. And this, if you look at the inventory in the market as well, the inventory of 2024 was the highest it has been in, let's say, the last 3 years. The months of inventory was looking at 4 months for a lot of properties, for up to 4.25, I believe is what it was. And this months of inventory currently, if you set your property, if sellers are setting their property at the right price today, you're going to get the buyers coming into it because of the new regulations. And this is what I want to now talk about. So let's talk about the new regulations coming into 2025. And this could really affect any new home buyer because it will affect your purchasing power as well as your eligibility for some incentives. And this is huge. So the first one is a first-time home buyer incentive. This is giving home buyers the opportunity to qualify for homes at a lower down payment of up to 10%. Some can even get up to 5% for a bigger home purchase price, which helps you in the monthly payment that you're going to incur. The second thing is a mortgage stress test. So the new rules have adjusted the qualifying rate, making it crucial to getting a pre-approval before you start your home hunting. What this does, it helps you shop within your budget and not having any surprises of stepping over your maximum price point, which some buyers typically do, and it's not good. So this here is a very positive thing as well. Then the third thing is a foreign buyer ban. This federal ban on foreign buyers remains intact. This has really reduced the competition in certain pockets in the Greater Toronto area. So that's a positive as well as for a first-time home buyer coming into the market. And then the last one, the provincial incentives. The first-time home buyer typically will get rebates on the land transfer tax up to $4,000. This is a huge thing for any first-time home buyer because in the Greater Toronto area, I know this is not something that happens outside Toronto. As a first-time home buyer or even as a seasoned home buyer, you typically would pay land transfer tax. And with this, if you're buying in Toronto, you're paying both the provincial and municipal taxes. If you're buying outside of Toronto, you're only paying once in terms of land transfer tax. And in both instances, whether you're buying in Toronto or outside Toronto, but in the GTA, you will still get a rebate of up to $4,000 on both. So if you're buying in Toronto, you get up to $8,000. If you're buying outside Toronto, you get up to $4,000. So now let's talk about the key steps of buying a home in the Greater Toronto area. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned buyer, these steps apply to you and they'll be great and critical for you to understand. Number one, get approved. Typically, I would always say find a mortgage broker that you can trust. I know it's hard to find out who you trust. If you have a real estate agent, they'll help you with this. But I will say the first step is get approved. Either go to your local bank that you had a relationship with and just have a good understanding of what they can provide for you. The reason I think a mortgage broker would be ideal is because if you're going to just that one bank, the bank is just going to give you the rate that's good enough for that one bank. A mortgage broker will be able to take all your information, all your details, and present your profile and actually go out and shop at all these major banks. So we know all the major, the BMO, the RBC, the Scotia, the TD, all the major banks, as well as some specific lenders, depending on your current situation or where you are to be able to get qualified. So I'll say that is the first step. Then number two, research location. Now, once you have a clear understanding of the maximum price range of where you can get into, this will now influence your location of where you can get into. So let's say, for example, you've been qualified for 900,000 and you're only looking in Toronto and you wanted a full detached home. This might now reduce you to now be in a position to find a semi or a freehold townhouse. That is what I mean by understand what your approval rate and then look into the location. Now, when it comes to the location, depending on where you are, if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're a young family, or if you are smart sizing, all this play into factor. The major things, the typical things that a lot of people from experience that I've found from first-time home buyers, you're looking for areas where there's closer to transit, closer to hospitals, good schools in and around that area. The crime rate in a particular neighborhood, I know we're dealing with a lot of crime here in the Greater Toronto area, but find the locations that have all this good stuff going on. But I'd advise it's good to get the approval first, then look into the location and then see what you can find in there, because this is going to drive the type of property that you can find in a certain location, particularly if you want to be in a certain pocket. The purchase price will let you know what kind of property you'll be able to get or where you can kind of get into. Then the third thing, really this should be first, but the third thing is work with a real estate professional. Now, I think this one is important. If you can do it by yourself, all power to you, go ahead and do it. I know from the outside, this business sometimes might look easy, but I kid you not, there's a lot of things that go into it. But I think it's good to work with a good real estate professional, good real estate agent. And how do you know you're dealing with a good real estate agent? There's so many ways that you can look at this. I typically would say just find somebody you absolutely can communicate with, that you absolutely can trust, because this is more of a personal transaction. So it could be your sister, it could be your mom, it could be your cousin, but if this is somebody you don't trust to have clear communication to explain to them your situation, then I would say this is not the right person for you. I would say for sure, obviously look into an agent that you feel comfortable to communicate with, feel comfortable to share whatever information you need with, and make sure that agent is credible. How do you find out that agent is credible? Just do your research, look into that person. The biggest thing I always say is just have a conversation with the person and maybe don't sign right away, but just get a good gauge of who they are, get a good gauge of how they go about their business and how they communicate and how you internally feel about it. Then from there, you'll know, okay, this is the person that I can actually trust. Because as a real estate agent, I know the negotiation side of it, it might not seem like it's a big deal, but it's a completely huge thing. Because if you don't trust a real estate agent, it could really cost you 30, 50,000 easily without you even knowing it's costing you that much. So getting somebody you can ethically feel that you can work with is important as a real estate agent. And I think through this, that person, that real estate broker will be able to guide you through the whole process, make the whole process very smooth for yourself. Then lastly, understanding the closing costs. Now, this here is huge. You don't want to have a situation where a lawyer is calling you on the closing date, letting you know that, hey, come with an extra $10,000. $20,000, and you're wondering, where the hell is this coming from? This is because you've not understood the closing cost. The closing cost for a buyer is totally different from the closing cost of a seller. So a buyer typically, I have a video that I've done on this. Go into my channel, subscribe, like, then you'll find the video that I'm talking about. But in here, some of the closing costs you're going to incur are things like land transfer tax that I just mentioned, the lawyer fee. Typically, as a buyer agent, you don't pay your real estate broker that you're working with, the real estate agent that you're working with. That is paid by the seller. Though other things like, let's say, if your mortgage broker needed to do an appraisal, though, probably include that. If you need to do an inspection, that's another closing cost. It's two separate things. The down payment and the closing cost, they don't go together. I've had clients who are coming to me like, I'm going to put my closing cost as my mortgage. No, can't do that. Separate that. Have a good understanding before you get out there and start searching. Okay, now I do want to leave this video without sharing with you some of the hot neighborhoods, like some really good neighborhoods that are out there. I'm just gonna mention a few. Some of you might just look at me like, hell no, Clement. But this one is obviously more of a personal preference on your end, but these pockets I think are really coming up and they're going to be really good. So today, if you're looking in the main Toronto area, if you are able to get a freehold property in Toronto, I would say jump on it, because this is where the opportunity really is coming. The condo market, it is good, though. For the condo market, if you're planning to stay in that condo market if you're thinking you're going to buy a condo market and just flip it within 2 years or within a year, and you're going to move into a detached home or a semi-detached or freehold home, pretty much, just look into that plan again. Because the condos, if you're not going into a condo with a plan of staying in that condo for minimum 3 to 5 years, I would say 5 years is really the time frame you want for condos today. If that's not your intention, I would just say, okay, maybe just look into that and see what other options are there. When it comes to freehold detached homes, semi-detached homes, I would say areas like Whitby is very good today. That pocket of Brooklyn is amazing. We're looking at Pickering, sometimes Ajax. Also Mississauga is still slightly expensive, but it's still a really good pocket. Oakville, oh my goodness, if you can get into Oakville, I would say just listen, jump into it. And Oakville is a very friendly market in the sense of you're not going to get so much competition, because the amount of inventory in Oakville is just staying in the market for up to 5 months, 6 months really, and it's a really good property. So, and though Oakville is really expensive, it's on the higher price bracket than other areas like Hamilton. I know on a personal level, I'm not a huge fan of Hamilton, but I do have some clients out there that just love it. There's opportunity there too, though Hamilton is just it's not my biggest place, honestly. Milton is also a really good area I would suggest to you. Milton is actually really good. But share with me some of the areas that you would be really interested in, some of the areas that you would like to move into, or some comments of some locations that I just mentioned. Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I hope you're more confident after watching this. If you have more questions, guys, just reach out to me. As I've always said in the video, whether you're 9 days or 90 days away from making a move, just reach out to me. Let's have a quick conversation. Let's have a good understanding, and we'll find out if us working together makes sense or not. So don't forget, if you found value in this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, watch the rest of the videos that I have that I think will be very valuable to you, particularly the closing cost video. If you're trying to have a good understanding of that, I'll have the link here. Go watch that. But until next time, have a good one. Thank you. Bye.